Hey guys, it's Silver TARDIS here, and welcome to my second ever Doctor Who review. Last time I reviewed The Snowmen, which got a 6 out of 10. Now I'm looking at the first episode of Series 7 Part 2, The Bells of St. John, which has been, well, in the weeks before the episode was broadcast, it was hyped up to be an urban thriller. Is it that, or is it just another mediocre episode made by Stephen Moffat? As many of you are aware, we're being introduced in this story to Clara Oswin Oswald, or just Clara Oswald as she's known in this story, for the third time. But what works about this episode is that it's pretty fast-paced in terms of introducing Clara to the TARDIS and the Doctor's lifestyle, because we've been through all this before, so yeah, let's just get it out of the way and focus on more important things. Now, Jenna-Louise Coleman and Matt Smith both work very well off of each other in this story. Like that scene where they're fighting over the laptop, that's pretty much the same as that scene in The Snowmen where they're passing the umbrella between one another. Yeah, they both end up riding a motorcycle together, so I could definitely see a little bit of John Pertwee left in the Doctor. Now, you can sort of tell from the way the Doctor behaves in this story that he wants to gain Clara's trust, so he's basically working his way through this story, trying to get Clara to trust him so she'll end up travelling with him, because he really wants to know what she is, why she's in two other time periods, one in the past, one in the future, and how she could have died twice, because he's been looking for her for some time now. So he's trying to please her. He's doing chores for her around the house. He tucks her into bed, leaves her a plate full of jammy Dodgers, and then he takes her off on this great adventure. He takes her a day into the future. They come out of the TARDIS pretending to be street performers, which I think is a nice touch, because in some cases, when the TARDIS materialises, there are crowds about, but they don't really raise an eyebrow at all. So I'm glad they did that for a change. Yeah, the Fez is back as well. And they end up trying to find the bad guys over a spot of breakfast. Yeah, that's a pretty doctorly thing to do. In terms of this episode being an urban thriller, I like the fact that they showed off the best side of London when they were doing those scenes on the motorbike. Houses of Parliament, the Shard, the Millennium Wheel, St Paul's Cathedral. Yeah, that was a nice touch, but we've kind of already seen that in quite a few previous Doctor Who episodes. And urban thriller, I was expecting something like a motorbike chase. Yes, he rides the motorbike, and yes, he drives it up the side of the Shard, which is epic. But other than that, I don't really see it as much of an urban thriller as I was expecting it to be. Seriously, people, it was described in the Doctor Who magazines as a sort of James Bond meets Doctor Who episode. I didn't really get that here. Oh, and speaking of Doctor Who, they ask the big question again. Not only do they say Doctor Who, the Doctor tells Clara to keep asking it. I thought you didn't want to answer that question, Doctor. Remember what Dorian said? It's the first question, the question that must never be answered. Don't encourage other people to ask it. Another thing I noticed with this episode is that Stephen Moffat seems to be ripping himself off again. That scene where somebody calls the TARDIS phone, yeah, that was done in The Empty Child, remember? And the villains in this story, well, one of the villains, the Spoonheads, seriously, Stephen Moffat, you're running so low on inspiration, you're rooting through your cutlery drawer to find it. And creepy mechanical monsters whose heads turn round really slowly, where have we seen that before? Oh yes, the beast below. All I'm saying is, could you try and be a bit more original? Now, despite these criticisms, I will say the spoonheads are revealed very well. They are pretty creepy. Like when we first see one in Clara's house, the girl's head turns around very slowly just to reveal a big, gaping, shining hole in the back of her head. Yeah, that was creepy. And the doctor at the restaurant turning out to be a spoonhead, I did not see that coming until he started repeating what Clara was saying. And in fact, that's how the doctor saves the day in the end. Yeah, the spoonheads, neat little idea, if a bit unoriginal. Now, when I say unoriginal, I mean that by their design, because we've had several monsters with turning heads before, and we've had God knows how many robots before. But I like the fact that they can manipulate the Wi-Fi. That is a great way to frighten a modern audience. So, well done, Stephen Moffat. I bet kids will be looking at their computer screens a bit more cautiously after they've seen this. But as for who the spoonheads are working for, yeah, it's the Great Intelligence. Yep, they've been wasted again. And so has Richard E. Grant. He literally appears right near the end of the episode, gets a minute on screen, literally on a screen, before he says, you know what, we can't do it, we failed, let's just pack up shop and try something else. We've tried snowmen, we've tried abominable snowmen, we've tried Wi-Fi, what's my next harebrained scheme going to be? Before we even hear about the Great Intelligence in this story, the main villain for most of the story is Celia Imrie as Miss Kislet. I didn't quite hear how it was pronounced in the story. But how does she do? I think she does a pretty good job in this story. She does have something of an intimidating presence, especially at the start when she talks about killing one of her employees just because he's something of a dunderhead. But it's towards the end of the story that her character doesn't do so well. When we find out it's the Great Intelligence that she's working for, I'm thinking, were they really the best option for a villain? You could have had an entirely new villain, like some sort of supercomputer. Wotan from the War Machines in the William Hartnell era, that would have been a good choice. Or, even better, you could have had Miss Kislet be the main villainess, full stop. You could just have her as another alien or something, wanting to harvest human minds for some reason or other. But after she has her mind put back in her body, it's revealed that she's been under this influence for some time, ever since she was a girl. Now there is one problem with that. When she was a girl, there was no such thing as Wi-Fi. But what else was good about this story? We had Cole McCarthy directing it, and he did a very good job. Murray Gold, once again, gave us some great music for this episode. Matt Smith, once again, does a good job at playing the Doctor, and I do like quite a few of his lines, like when the plane's crashing he goes, I'm the Doctor, I'm 1,000 years old, I'm an alien from outer space who've got 2 hearts and I can't fly a plane. Yeah, that makes me laugh every time. I'm not much of a fan for the Doctor's new costume, I must say, because the purple jacket does make him look a bit like the Joker from Batman. But there are some other nice gags in the story, like when Clara calls the TARDIS a snogging booth, And if you've watched the series over the past few years, yeah, that's definitely true these days. There's also a nice little nod to Amy Pond in this story, because one of her books turns up in one scene. So I just hope this isn't a reoccurring theme, because I think the Angels Take Manhattan made it pretty clear we're finished with Amy and Rory now. So, conclusion time. With everything said about this episode that needs to be said, I'm going to give this episode a 7 out of 10. It's a good start to part 2 of the series, and I think it's the best story that Stephen Moffat's made for a while. He's got one more story to write this series. I don't know the name of it yet, but whatever it is, I hope it's not another mediocre episode like Asylum of the Daleks or Let's Kill Hitler, because this is the big 5-0 year for Doctor Who. It's 50 years old now, and it can't afford to mess up here. But that's all from me. I'll see you guys next time.